This is Dark Illumination Report Podcast, Episode 18. The views expressed on this podcast are the views of the podcast host only. The host neither represents or endorses any specific satanic organization or tradition. If you enjoyed the show, please take a moment to leave us a review on iTunes, and please tell a friend. I'd really appreciate it. You can also follow me on Twitter at RJWO15. If you have questions or comments, you can leave us a message at speakpipe.com/DIR podcast. That's speakpipe.com/DIR podcast.
This is the Dark Illumination Report podcast with RJ Womack.
Hey everybody, thanks for joining me. I hope everybody had a good solstice and has a happy new year. I was asked by a listener what I thought theistic Satanists should do because of the overwhelming influence of atheistic Satanism on Satanism right now. And the truth is, what we need to do is basically a couple of things. You have to have genuine people to put together covens or groups or whatever that have a genuine desire to serve Satan and to serve his kingdom. Not only do they have to believe in him, but they have to have a genuine desire to help other people and a desire to preserve Satanism. Because without that, there's no point in all of this. And see, what people are tired of is fake religious leaders. They're tired of people who use religion for their own benefit, for their own purposes. They want to know that when they deal with people, they're dealing with genuine people. And if you want to build a coven, you want to build a group, whatever, you have to start from the basic principle of you have to be honest with people. You have to be real with people. You have to have genuine convictions and genuine beliefs. You can't just use Satanism as a prop to promote yourself and your ideas. You have to really believe it. And as soon as they know you really believe it, that's half the battle right there. And that's what theistic Satanists don't do. When I look on the internet, I see a lot of people starting Facebook pages and starting groups that seem to have no interest in Satanism at all. It's only about ego. It's only about themselves. It's never about Satan. So what you have to do is you have to create groups, particularly regional groups or local groups, that have a focus on the religious worship of Satan and demons. If you don't have that, then what's the point? The second thing you have to do is you have to have people that get away from this atheistic poison. Things like Satanism is a philosophy. Satanists don't pray. Those things have to be done away with because they're not true theistic satanic points of view. They're atheism disguised as theism. And you have to get rid of those things and bring the focus back to devotional worship, to devotional practices. And when you do that, people will start to connect with Satan and they'll start to feel his presence. And that's half the battle as well. So if you have genuine people teaching genuine practices, theistic Satanism will grow. But you have to get rid of the poison. You have to get rid of the falseness, the fakeness, the whole, people playing at being Satanist. Something else I want to bring up before I go to my next point is these groups have to be offline groups. These groups have to be groups where you make connections with real people and you meet offline and you get together. So it's important that they be either regional groups or local groups, either local to a town or a group that focuses on a certain small region, and that's the way you need to do it. Because we're never going to grow if we don't make personal connections with other people. And until we do that, we're not going to succeed either. Now, my last point is you have to have people in charge of these groups that have an understanding of reality. And what I mean by that is people that understand basic economics, basic business. And the reason I say that is because, I've had people come up to me or write me and say, I wish we had a temple. I wish we had statues in that temple, with no idea of how much it cost or how much credit you have to have in order to be able to afford a mortgage or even buy a large statue. I mean, if you don't know these things, then how can you realistically start a serious church? I mean, I'll give you an example. The average electric bill for a commercial building can be several $100s a month, and that's not counting the mortgage itself or the rental for a place like that. So if you don't understand these things, you don't have any idea of what it takes to run a professional organization or how much money it takes, how can you possibly succeed? Another thing is, have you noticed that all the groups that have started, gotten temples or little temple houses, that all of the places they've rent out are not actually commercial real estate? They're not commercial temples or commercial business fronts. They're actually residential houses. The reason that is because commercial real estate costs several times more than residential houses. And the electric bill to keep those places up costs several times more than a residential real estate. And just because you can afford to get the credit approval for a residential home doesn't mean you'll have the credit in order to get a commercial residence or a commercial property. And that's something that you have to realize. So if you're talking about trying to start a real satanic temple, there are a whole lot of issues that you have to know something about and you have to have some understanding of. And most people don't take the time to study or understand these issues, so they're not going to be successful at it. And most people don't have the credit in order to run a business and have a residential home as well. Ultimately, if you decide to undertake this project of starting your own group, you have to decide what kind of group you want to run and what kind of group you want your group to be. I mean, if you're just looking to get together with some friends and do a couple of rituals, then you don't have to do any of this stuff. The only thing you have to worry about is having genuine people to help run your group, to help lead the group and make sure it stays true to the satanic principles upon which you founded it. But if what you really want to do is start a commercial satanic temple, then you have to be aware of all these things I've mentioned, and it might be advisable to look into some of the things I've talked to you about on this podcast. But the most important thing is to be loyal to your convictions, be loyal to Satan and the demons, and be loyal to the people that put their trust in you. If people realize you're a genuine person who actually cares about the religion and cares about them and helping them, then they'll follow you and they'll respect you for it. It's that simple. If you do that, then you don't have to do anything else.
Thank you for listening to the Dark Illumination Report podcast. For the latest news headlines, show information, and more, go to rjwomack.com. That's rjwomack.com.